introducing. We have a special opportunity today to hear from a couple of missionaries, a missionary team that we are familiar with. If you have been in Heaven's View for any period of time, Equip Mozambique is a mission that we support and that we pray for. John and Carla and Eugenio have been here for a couple of days now. They came up yesterday, and we've been in discussions about how we might work closer together and find more things that we can do together with them. We're just very encouraged. I've got a foretaste of what you're going to get. Very encouraged to see what it is that has been happening in Mozambique, and very excited about that. Actually, I have 3 people that are in the team here. John and Carla, probably you know, but I'm going to introduce them anyway, in case there's people here that are new. John Ryan-Eagle, wave your hand, John. John is the President and U.S. Director of Equip Mozambique. How long has the ministry been going on in Mozambique? 9 years in Mozambique. And so it's been a growing ministry for a long time, and they have been faithful in that ministry. Carla Ryan-Eagle is the founder of the sewing school that you're going to hear a little bit more about. She waved her hand there, okay. You see all of these products out here. This is from the sewing school. Most of you have come over and seen this already, or you're going to have a chance to see it again. This is the sewing school that is operating in Equip Mozambique. You'll hear more about that. But Carla also she just received her master's in education. So congratulations. John is working on his doctorate in what? In transformational leadership. So that'll be happening. Carla has just received her master's. She works in curriculum development and also in communications for Equip Mozambique. And then somebody that you don't know yet that is new to us, I had a chance to meet him yesterday, and one of the things with Carla and John is that they've been good friends for a long time, and I'm counting on Eugenio being the same. Eugenio, and I am going to murder your last name here already. I'm going to tell you in advance. Macuyana. Okay, Eugenio Macuyana is the national director for Mozambique, and he does a multitude of things. You already stand there. Multitude of things in Mozambique, in dealing with all of the all of the programming that is there, but also all the government regulations and things that have to be done there to make sure that the mission can continue on. And so we are very privileged to have him here as well, and welcome you here for the first time, and very excited about that. And so I am going to sit down, and I'm going to let them speak however they want to do this as a team. But I'm going to sit down. So just welcome up before they start to let you know we are going. You can stay right there. We're going to take up an offering after they speak for Equip Mozambique. So I want you to be able to prepare for that, for our ushers to be able to prepare for that as well. After they speak, we are going to take up an offering, but we're going to let them kind of explain what is happening in Equip Mozambique. And I think Carla is up first because she's standing. So Carla, come on ahead and just welcome Carla and Equip Mozambique in general to Heaven's View.
All right, thank you guys so much for your warm welcome. I always love visiting you guys. We came and visited this church just when we were in the planning stages of Equip Mozambique. We didn't even have a clue what we were going to do when we got over there. And you guys have been supportive and encouraging from the start, and you can see how big our team is now. And so God has just blessed us so much, and one of the ways that he has blessed us has been through you. And so just thank you so much. And so I'm going to share a little bit, kind of an overview of our ministry. And so I'm going to go through slides pretty fast. So you can go ahead and go to the next one. So this is where Mozambique is on the map of Africa. We are in the southeastern side. And I want to share a little bit about the country and the challenges that we face there. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So the first one I want to talk about here is, go ahead and pop things up as we go. All right, there's this thing called the Human Development Index that talks about how developed a country is. And so I have some statistics here to kind of compare the USA and Mozambique and what our reality is there and the challenges that we face. And so the US is considered about 92 on that scale of, it talks about, health and education and, income and things like that. And Mozambique's a 44. So out of 191 countries, America is 21. So there's a couple countries higher than us, like in Europe and stuff. But Mozambique is at 185, down at the bottom of that scale. And so here's a couple other things, like average years of schooling. Here in the States, it's 13. The average American has 13 years of school. In Mozambique, it's 3 years of schooling. GDP per capita, America about 64,000, Mozambique 1,200. So imagine trying to, and that's the average. There's a ton of people that get less than $100 a month. And then we have the total GDP over here, 24 billion versus 16 billion. But this one's actually not comparing the US and Mozambique. This one's comparing the city of Peoria and Mozambique. And so the GDP of Peoria is 50% higher than our entire country of 33 million people. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of perspective of the challenges that we face there. Go to the next slide. And this was one of the reasons why we felt so deeply moved and called to Mozambique, because Jesus shared in this parable of the sheep and the goats. He said, however you treat people, you're doing that for me. And so when you are showing kindness to the least of these, the people in the greatest need, the hungry, the poor, the downcast, the outcast, these are, we are serving him. And when you guys make it possible for us to be there, you get, like they said, the cup of water given the prophet's name gets the prophet's award. We just thank you guys so much for all of the ways that you have helped us over the years. You have also helped the least of these and done it for Jesus. And so just thank you so much for that. Next slide. And so I want to share with you a little bit, my highlights moved, but how we do things and why we do them. One thing that we are always looking for is this wonderful, beautiful, deep Hebrew word called shalom. I don't know if you've ever studied this word, but it means so much more than just peace. That's kind of how it's usually translated in your Bible, but it means wholeness. It means everything that is the way it should be, the way God intended it to be. That is shalom. Everything that was broken, brought back together. That is shalom. And so one verse that just really inspires us is out of Jeremiah 29. And this is what God was telling the people as they were going into exile. And he said, work for the shalom of the city where I sent you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, for in its shalom will you have shalom. And God has called all of us to be bearers of his peace, to be bearers of his wholeness to everywhere we are. And I feel like this church in particular has really caught that vision. And I just love every time we visit getting to share back and forth the stories of how are you bringing shalom to Peoria? Let's share how we're bringing shalom to Mozambique. And so I just, that is who we are, and that is what we do, and that is how we do it. Next slide, please. And so what we are always looking for in our systems that create shalom, we're looking for not just working with an individual here and an individual there, but how do we address entire systems that are holding people back from reaching the potential that God has for them? How do we bring the church together, not just one church, but God's entire body of Christ, all the churches, how do we bring them together? How do we bring the community together? How do we bring the cities together? How do we bring the country together to find wholeness, to solve these broken systems? And so go ahead and go to the next slide after we have systems. And so this is kind of our mission statement right here. We are there to empower the next generation of Mozambican leaders to transform their own nation. We know that we are not there to be, their saviors. We're not there to save Mozambique and to make it wonderful. There are Mozambican people who have that same vision. They want to see their country better. They want to see those statistics that I showed you at the beginning change, and they want to see God's wholeness and God's shalom come. And we're just there to help them know how. like give them a roadmap, give them the scriptures. Because so many people, they look to the Bible as just something that you need on a Sunday morning. But we're like, no, you need this every single day. You need this Monday through Friday and Saturday too. You need this book, and this will guide you, and this will lead you, and this will help you make the most important decisions of your life. And so that is what we do. We empower the next generation of Mozambican leaders, and they are going to be the ones that will transform their nation. And so I want to introduce you guys to some of our leadership team. Go ahead and go through the next slide. And so as Pastor you shared there, one of the things we have is a sewing school. I'm going to share a little bit about that. Go ahead. But I want to introduce you to a dear friend of mine named Nora. So Nora grew up in an upper-class Mozambican family, and so she was pretty well off, but she was shocked when she started visiting the homes of her own people, the Mozambican people, especially the widows and single moms that lived around her, and just realized the absolute poverty that they lived in. And I'm not just talking about they don't have enough money. They were also, spiritually poor, and they didn't know that God really cared about them. Unfortunately, kind of the flip side of what's, the prosperity gospel, when you say, oh, well, God will bless you if you're faithful to him. The flip side of that is, well, if you're poor, God must hate you. And that is what so many people there believe. And it is so not true. And so to be able to go in and say, no, you've got that all wrong. God loves you just the way you are, just how you are. Social poverty. These people have absolutely no friends. People will just, spit on them as they walk by. They are considered, the dust of the earth. And so to be able to, go ahead and go to the next slide. Nora and I created this sewing school as a path for them out of that, to absolute abject poverty. And so the first thing we give them is pretty easy to understand, practical training. It's like, oh, if I have a skill and I can work, I'm going to be so much better off physically. But then we take the next step, discipleship, and leading them to a saving and loving relationship with Jesus Christ. And next step, community of victorious women. We always try to be very intentional on developing relationships within the term so that they become each other's biggest cheerleaders, and they stay friends for years afterwards. And it's just been beautiful to see that. We also have a way that, when you buy our products, each one of those ladies gets a cut of those profits to help them save up for a sewing machine that they receive on graduation. So that is how they were able to continue with, having a new life. And that is just what we are so passionate about. So go ahead, go to the next slide. Another thing I wanted to talk about really briefly here is our Innovation Center. Next slide. So here, I know you guys are big on jobs partnership, which, by the way, a lot of what we do with the sewing school is kind of modeled after and built off of what we learned from you guys with jobs partnership, and just how do you take people who are down and out and show them God's plan for them. And we've used so much of your materials to contextualize it for there, and it's been such a blessing to so many people. But I know you guys try to empower people with the soft skills to go out and find a job. You see, like as we walk around, you see all these businesses, hiring now, help wanted. We don't have that in Mozambique. Jobs are almost non-existent. And so just to give you an idea, every year, about 500,000 youth come of age and enter the workforce, but every year, only about 18,000 jobs are created. And so if you look at this little chart here, that's how many people are looking for jobs, and that's how many people might get a job. So everybody else is pretty much forced into entrepreneurship. And so that is what we focus on. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Next slide. So we have a guy that was working with us for several years on our tech department. His name is Ebel Chimuntu. We might get a picture of him eventually. But he started seeing this need and grew really passionate about being part of the solution. So now he is heading up what we call our Innovation Center, which is training people in entrepreneurship. How do you start and run a business? How do you do it God's way? How do you use the Bible to guide your business? How do you work with integrity in a context that is plagued by corruption and things like that? And so that is a huge part of what he does. All right, are we having some technical difficulties? Sorry. I'll just keep going. So another thing that John and I have worked on, or especially John, so he saw a huge need for development in the tech sphere as well, because more and more people are getting connected with cell phones and stuff like that, and we're like, oh, this is such an amazing possibility to harness to bring God's kingdom and solutions and education and information to people. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we've got Bello there, Ebel. And then next slide, yeah, entrepreneurship classes, been training up, dozens of people, and how do you do business God's way? Okay, keep going. So we've got some tech projects, keep going. And so I want to introduce you to Edson. Edson now leads up the tech department. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And this is one of the solutions that they've been working on for several years now, but it's really taking off now. And it's a digital system for agricultural groups to use so that they can streamline their systems, empower the farmers to earn more, to have access to banking that they never had before, increase production, get training that they need to do better methods. And it has just been revolutionizing agriculture in our area, so much so that John's even been invited to Tunisia and Zambia and Germany to share about the system and how it works to try to spread it to elsewhere. And it's been really amazing how they've been increasing the production of food in our country in a time that it really needs it. Next slide. Also want to introduce you to Adamu here. When Adamu's father died, just due to corruption and injustice, his family lost their home, and there was nothing that they could do about it. And he knew from that young age, he was like, this isn't right. This should not have happened. This was wrong. And so he decided, even when he was just a little kid, I'm going to be a lawyer someday, and I'm going to fight for justice, and I'm going to speak up for the oppressed because nobody spoke up for me. And so that is what he is doing now. He is on our team working with, go ahead and go to the next slide. He works with, we started out with just an app that was educating people about the law and their rights to say, hey, if this has happened to you, that's not okay, and this is what you can do about it, and this is where you can go for help, and this is how you go about things. This is the law. And so in addition to the app, they started doing these theatrical productions. I want to share one up here on the right side. What you're seeing, you see these people acting out a couple with a 14-year-old daughter. They're saying, you know what, we can't really afford to send her to school, so how about we just marry her off and get a bride price, because that's still done there. And that happens to almost half of the girls in Mozambique. Almost half of girls are married before they turn 18, which is illegal. Like, the law prohibits that, but so many people don't even know that. They don't know it's illegal. They don't know that there are potential consequences for them, and they also don't realize just how damaging it is for these girls. And so in these dramas, we're educating people saying, hey, don't do this. This is not right. This is not okay. You need to be, do things in a better way. And so how do you confront corruption? How do you go against that? How do you defend the defenseless? And that's what Adamu is super passionate about. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And then we also have a library, because we saw there was a huge need. Like I showed you, 3 years of schooling on average. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Selena leads our library. She's an amazing librarian. She loves to read herself, and then she also loves to share that love with others. And so every time somebody returns a book, she sits down with them and is just like, hey, how did this book change your life? And she has heard so many beautiful testimonies like, oh man, I was able to get over drug addictions just because of reading this book. Or, oh, I was able to reconcile my relationship with my father that had been broken for years just because of this book. And so go to the next slide. We actually just moved our offices to a new building, to a new part of town this year. And our new place is right next to a bunch of schools. And so we get kids coming in all hours of the day, and they just love to come in there, and they sit and they read. And they've been growing so much because of having that access. And we have a ton of kids' Bibles and things like that for them to look at and grow spiritually as well. And so that is kind of a summary. I know, sorry, it's kind of like drinking through a fire hose of what we do. But going back to the beginning, it's all about leadership development, and it's all about bringing systems of shalom. How do we bring wholeness into places that are broken. And so I'm going to pass time on. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Next slide. You can come on up. Oh, back a few. Too far. Okay, I want to introduce, this is Eugenio Macoyana. He's been working with us for about a year now, and he's been just such a wonderful addition to our team as we seek to empower other leaders, and it's a vision he has become passionate about as well.
Thank you, Carla, for showing this slide sheet, and thank you all for welcoming us. My name is Eugenio Macoyana. Yesterday, my face was nice, and and I just got some allergies, but still, I didn't change my name. I'm still myself. I'm here to thank you all and to show you that what you are putting your hand in is helping a nation. I'm here to say that. I grew up in a poor family, and I know what it is to have nothing, and I know what it means to have even the little. It means a lot, and we thank you for that. The work might seem like nothing is happening, but surely I'm here to testify that a nation is being changed one life at a time. I just want to share a little story of how things are going in Mozambique. You can go next slide. In a village, a very, very poor village, there was this man who lived with his elderly father, his wife, and poor children. There came a time where there was nothing to eat, and everyone was just waiting to die because of hunger. But this man thought of something to save a village. He told his wife that, I think I'll make a difference to this village, but I need to travel where God is showing me. And he did it. You can go next slide. So the next morning, he woke up very early. He prepared. Whilst he was taking a bath, his wife took a corn. Here you call it corn. We call it maize. And she roasted it on the open fire. When the man finished taking a bath, he took his backpack. The wife had packed the corn in the backpack, and he took off. He walked miles and miles. In remote villages, we walk more than 5 hours to catch a bus, and it's normal. So he walked, and he caught a bus. And he started his journey. As he was coming from a village without nothing, without food, he came to a point whereby he was feeling hungry, and he thought of the special meal his wife prepared for him in the backpack. So he pulled out, can you go to the next slide? He pulled out a very golden roasted corn. He broke it in half and shared with everyone. What we do in our villages is, you see those lines? We pluck each kernel and share. So he was just removing one line, gave to the person next to him, another line to the next person to him, and the last line on the last half, it was left for him. He sat down and he ate it merrily, not only thinking about himself, but he thought of other people in the bus. But this is how God works. This is how God works. The little that we give always comes in abundance. So on each rest stop, on each rest place where the bus was stopping. Whoever buys McDonald's, he was buying for, I think it's more common here buying McDonald's. So whoever buys something, they were buying for themselves and for the men who gave them just one line of maize. So the whole bus of 20 people, whoever buys something was also buying for him as well. Amen. This is how it is when we give. So by the end of the journey, with more rest places to stop, the man had plenty for himself. And when he got to the destination, he said to the bus driver, "Mr. Bus driver, can you take me back to my village with all this food so that I can go and feed my people?" So they went back. He walked miles back to the village. They shared the food merrily. They prayed for the people who gave them the food. They prayed for a blessing for the people who responded to the vision of this poor man. And I'm here as one of the beneficiaries of the people who is receiving the gift of the vision that John and Carla showed them. I'm here to testify that your help, what you are giving to our ministry, is changing lives. I'm here to assure you that the people who are not here in America, the people who I am representing, are praying for you guys. I'm here to tell you, and this is a fact, that some of your prayers are being answered by God because you are making a difference in someone's life back in Mozambique. I just want to encourage you that do not feel tired when it comes to help. We will always pray for you. We love you. And back in Mozambique, we always talk about you all. And I just feel happy. And I just feel that God allows me to be part of a family that is changing lives in Mozambique. As I forgot her name when she was talking about Pastor's Giving, Carrie, I met her yesterday with my nice face. When she was talking, she said something that touched me. And I would just want to share with you a verse that you can go and read from 2 Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 6 to 11. You can go and read when you're home. But from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the people that I serve and on behalf of Hvcf Mos in Mozambique, I just want to express my gratitude and thank to all of you for everything that you are doing for the ministry. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you, Eugenia. It's kind of hard to talk after that, really. Yeah, so it's amazing to see God's hand in action, and I just wanted to give a word of encouragement here. And it's Pastor's Appreciation Month. I didn't realize that coming up here, but yeah, I wanted to talk about faith because really to see the fruit, you have to have faith at the beginning, and faith is a bit of a superpower. If you can go to the next slide. So we do systems that create shalom. Next slide here. So the systems that create shalom, we have the church as the number one thing. And the church has to kind of lead a lot of the community opportunities for one thing above all, and that's faith. Because we can do things before other people see them in the natural. And that means that God can plan, and then he can use us to implement them to start, to really be that spark that affects other people. And we've seen this so much in our own life. As Carla shared, your pastors were on board with this vision even before we knew exactly what we were doing. We just knew we were called, and that was enough. And so the church has been fine with that. And so you've been partners with us for years as the vision is developed. Go to the next slide. So I wanted to share, this is a vision that God keeps giving me of a violin player, like third string. And you've got this sheet of music in front of you, and you're like, like it makes no sense, when you're practicing and you're practicing and you're practicing. And then one day you get together with the rest of the orchestra, right? You get together with the rest of the symphony, and you hear everything that's going on, and you hear the perfect note that you're playing with everything else that's going on. And this is something that has kind of changed the perspective of ministry for me. I used to think that I was bringing light in a dark place. It was only me, like me against the world. If you think of those kind of like American action films like Rambo or something, it's you against everybody else. It was like us versus Satan in Mozambique. But we've changed our perspective a lot because the Lord is working everywhere. He's working everywhere in everyone, right? He's working everywhere in everyone. And so our job changes. It's not our job to go change and transform people. It's not our job to convince other people that we're right, but it's our job to partner in what God's doing in that person's life. And it's our job to honor what the Lord's already doing in those places. And so as a missionary, that doesn't mean to come and change the culture, but it's to go there and see what the Lord's already doing and seeing what kind of things need redeemed. And in Mozambique, I have met so many just amazing people, amazing perspectives, people that are so generous, just like Eugenio shared. And they just need a little bit of Christ. They need a better understanding of what the Bible gives to really make it a transformational impact. And so you've got to trust when God says step forward. You've got to trust that he's actually, even if it might not make any sense to you right now, he's calling you for something much bigger than yourself. He's calling you to be a part of a symphony and an orchestra. Can you go to the next slide? He's calling you to be a part of something huge. And the danger here is that if we're not practicing in our quiet times, if we're not doing what God asks us to when nobody else is around, we won't be ready for the times and the places he has for us later. It is so important that we can step out in what God's asking us to give up and to take on in our quiet times, in the times where nobody else is looking. And that's faith, right? And that's faith, stepping out in what the Lord is telling you, even in the quiet. Many times you ask a church or you ask a group of people, how many of you hear from the Lord on a regular basis? And very few hands come up, maybe one or two people. But if you ask them, well, how many of you know something that God's asking you to stop, or somebody that you need to preach the gospel to, or to give an encouraging word to, or something, a habit you need to start? Every hand goes up, right? And we all know things that God's calling us to, but sometimes we don't want to step out in faith. We don't want to step out in faith. And just wanted to encourage you, right, today that your pastors stepped out in faith for us. I have actually called your pastors at 3 a.m. When we were going through some rough times. Thank you, Pastor Parks. Pro tip, though, it wasn't 3 o'clock for him. So I've got a bit of an advantage you don't. And so they have encouraged us in really hard times. Both Pastor Parks and Pastor Pierce were there. They were on our board that met at 6 a.m. And for years, they would get up at 6 a.m. to come and to guide us, right? To teach us and to help align us with what God's overall vision was for us. And just wanted to thank you guys both from the bottom of our hearts. Yeah, thank you so much. Everything that we do today is very much modeled on what you've shown us and what you've taught us, and the years of ministry that you were able to share with us. I guess they say there's 3 ways of learning something. You can learn from somebody else, right? That's the easiest. You can try it yourself. You can learn it, you can read it, or you can try it yourself, which is what most of us end up doing, and then finally end up learning from it. But the faster way is just to learn from the wise people God's placed around you. Yeah. So thank you guys so much, and for what you do in our ministry. Thank you, because what you do empowers what we do over in Mozambique. You will meet people in heaven that you don't know their name, you've never known their name, but you made an impact in their life. And I think all of us want that kind of an impact on a regular basis, right? So thank you for that, and I'll pass it back to Pastor Parks.
It is really a wonderful opportunity to have all of you up here, and thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I wish all of you could be in the meeting that we had, and kind of they go into more detail into what it is that they're doing, and kind of knowing where they started and knowing now what is happening. It is kind of like the miracle of the loaves and fishes. To where it just keeps multiplying and multiplying and multiplying, and now they're looking at ministering in Mozambique. They're also talking about some of the programs going out to the surrounding countries that are around Mozambique, and then also people that come into to Mozambique to help with the mission and the way that they are ministered to and the way that they have an opportunity as well that is there. And they're doing all of this and raising families. And one of their children is right there, and they have two more that are in St. Louis, and so they also travel back and forth from time to time and have families to raise and things to consider. So we thank you for the blessings. You know, it's been so nice to have you here and to meet you, and we look forward to continuing the relationship as well. We're going to go ahead and take up an offering now. Our ushers will come forward. We have a piano player here now. We're going to go ahead and take up an offering. And then following the offering, I'm going to ask that Pastor Pierce come, and he will lead us in communion. Just a reminder that we have after services, we have the baptism downstairs. But we'll have all of this stuff that's up here. So go down, see be a part of the baptism, and then afterwards come back up, and we'll have all of these things up here. And if you want to take a look at what the sewing school is doing and partake in that, then you have the opportunity to do that. So we'll go ahead and we'll take up the offering. Yes. Oh, if you write the check out to Heaven's View Christian Fellowship, and then we will combine all of that and we'll write one check to Equip Mozambique. Yeah, you can put it in the memo line, put Equip Mozambique or Equip Moz,